Hey y'all, Mike with Cardboard Kingdom. Welcome back to another Disney Lorcana market update video. Today is the 16th of December. Happy Monday. I hope you all had a fantastic weekend. And with that being said, let's talk about some things here. So we've got some bad news on some of the Azurite Sea stuff. Just the influx of singles has hit. The demand has been adequately quenched, and the supply is going up, and so our prices are going down. We'll talk about that. A couple exciting things before we get to that. First off, I was just looking around at some prices this morning. I haven't looked at anything for a few days, and I just want to reiterate how confident I am and how just like we're in a really, really, really healthy and good spot right now. And one of the main reasons for that is because we have never seen this much demand for the first chapter since it was like 200, that 200 to 220 range for those of you guys who have been around for a while. When we got the restock, the box price, there was a few that sold for under 200, but for months there was $200 to 220 was kind of the price of the box. Now it is up at all-time highs at around 315, almost 320 is the lowest box on the market, and that it truly is like all-time highs apart from a few one-off sales. But the thing that has me so just excited, I guess would be the word, is the amount of demand and how consistent they're selling over 300 now. And if you look at the most recent sales volume, just looking through the last couple of days, you're a low of kind of 312. There was one sale for 305. But apart from that, you were seeing like 5 to 10 sales daily of the 300 plus range, and I think that speaks to just the once again the growth of the ecosystem and the amount of people who want to get their hands on these boxes. I think the better times are ahead for the first chapter very, very soon. Now, once again, the caveat always needs to be said. This is going to put a lot of pressure on Ravensburger as more people come into the game and they come into Lorcana and they go through all that vertical integration that we've discussed of seeing the movie, and now they're starting a collection and blah blah blah. There, a lot of those people are going to be sour that they weren't here to start, and they're going to be mad they didn't get the first chapter. They're going to be very vocal about that, and they're going to be putting a lot of pressure on Ravensburger. So it's going to be a very important time to kind of see how they handle this and see what they do. Once again, we are, the first chapter is what, 15 months old. We are very much still in the realm of a reprint or something like that. I know you guys don't want to hear it. It's just possible, right? And so I think it's important to kind of see how Ravensburger handles this growth, the additional value of the box, right? Like I know we've heard rumblings of like they didn't expect the golden Mickey from the first DLC event to be worth so much. They thought it would maybe be worth like a couple $1,000s. In my opinion, that was a gross, miscalculation of the demand of this game. But at the end of the day, that's a rumor, right? Who knows if there's any truth behind that? But this is once again, it's going to put pressure on him, and so I just want to see how it does. I'm a huge fan of the first chapter booster bundle that came out on Black Friday at Target. I love that. I know a bunch of you guys hate it because some scalpers got it. I had a lot of people comment on video saying they were new to the game and they got their hands on it. Love it. That's the reason for the product. That's the reason for the product. Obviously, some people are going to scalp it. It is what it is. Don't waste too much time and energy on those people. But I'm glad. I really like that product. It doesn't kill the booster box value, doesn't kill the sealed case value for those of us that have been holding it for a while. But it still puts some additional singles on the market. And I've got to say, guys, the singles continue to get cheaper and cheaper. The expected value for the first chapter right now is like $167. It's the lowest it's been since I've been in the hobby for a year now. And so I would say take advantage of that. If you're new to the hobby, don't worry so much about the sealed side of things. Go out and get the individual cards. The rate at which the box is increasing in value, but the cards are decreasing in value is a stark contrast. And so I would say go ahead and get your singles. Take advantage of this time to get your singles, because as this box price continues to go up, and we're at 320 now, but by the end of the page we're at 325, and there's maybe a total of like 20 boxes here, right? So it's just going to be the slow trickle. Maybe it's 330 by Christmas. We go into the new year, it's 340, 350, right? Whatever that cycle looks like. As it continues to expedite and go up in price, the amount of singles that get opened are just not, they're going to continue to slow down and decrease and decrease. This really impacts the enchanted side of things. As we get further away from the first chapter, the playable cards, the first chapter of playable cards are going to become fewer and fewer because the game's evolving, the cards are getting better, and so your Maleficent Monstrous Dragons or Rapunzels or whatever, their replacements are coming, right? And they're coming in future sets or they're already here. And that's why we see the expected value of the boxes come down. But as the collector side of things of Lorcana grows, that's where you're going to start to see the enchantments dry up. And those are going to start to carry most of the weight through the expected value of these boxes. Right now, you pull a Rapunzel, your set, you pull a Monstrous Dragon, you're in a good spot. Fishbone Quill, Tinkerbell, etc. A lot of really good cards in there still, but the enchantments are going to start to dry up, and so that's why, once again, I've been saying this for a couple weeks, even months now. This is the time to buy your singles. If you've been around for a while, or even if you're new, I feel very, very confident in the price of the first chapter enchantments right now. Should you want to collect them, right? So I always say the same thing of don't get over leveraged, buy what you want to collect, so that way you're not worried about the price going down in the short term. But right now, it is a really, really good time to buy, strictly based off of the just the amount of demand for the boxes, that the single supply is going to decrease. And so, Elsa's sitting at 23 listings right now. I expect that to continue to see that go down. Now, obviously, there's plenty out there, so it's always going to be replenished, right? But more people are buying it at this price, right? And so they're going to be waiting till 1,000 to sell, or 1,500 to sell, whatever that looks like. And I do expect these numbers to decrease, and ultimately the price of the card is going to increase, right? And so it's a good time to buy your first chapter Enchanteds. It's a good time to buy your Stitch Rockstars and some of your DLC promos. Probably not a bad time. Specifically the Stitch Rockstar card, I think, just I've said it a million times, makes a ton of sense right now. I did want to take a look at Rise of the Floodborn booster boxes, though, because I know that's a weird one, because we've had so many different restocks and things like that. There's even been some recently available for under MSRP. Here we go, 9 boxes for under MSRP at 133. Keep in mind, guys, this box was up at 150 not that long ago. You see the price chart here. We were closing in on 160 for quite a few sales. And so we saw a ton of demand during the Black Friday event. And the demand's still been there, but there's just been a lot more on the market than what we thought, right? Those high prices bought a ton of boxes out, and so you've got a ton of inventory here on the first page, and that's only getting us back to MSRP at 145. So Rise of the Floodborn, plenty of time on that. I would say if you're in the market for a first chapter box and you just want to keep it sealed, right? I think sealed is definitely the way to go with first chapter right now. I think that this price, if you're willing to speculate on no reprint, I think right now is a fine time to buy. I think it's the cheapest it's going to be, assuming no reprint. If that reprint comes, and I think we're on a fast track back to the 200 to 220 range, maybe even lower. If they do a full reprint, it'll completely crash the product. I think it'll be below MSRP, to be honest. That's going to cause an insane sell-off if that were to happen. I don't think it's going to, right? I think they understand that there's a secondary market to these things, but at the end of the day, it's their right to do it. I think it would be a terrible business decision, but I think that if they don't, in my view, if they don't reprint, I think the 300s-ish for a first chapter booster box is very, very, very strong. Looking at the sealed cases side of things, I do believe that these are going to continue to outpace individual boxes, or I think they're going to start to. They always haven't historically, because their price point is so much higher. I do think they're going to start outpacing the individual booster boxes, though. We have, a few, looks like a sale a day, pretty much, closing in on 1,300. Quite a few sales right around there. Lowest on market right now is right at 1,300. And we're going up from there. The cases sell quite a bit more on eBay, I've noticed, which is interesting. But still some sales here on the first chapter side of things. And what's that? I mean, 350 per box? That puts it 700. No, not quite. It's like 325, 300, 325 per box for the case side of things, which is really, really good. Azurite Sea, I mentioned it on the front end. Azurite Sea is definitely kind of hit its breakpoint of supply and demand. This this set is going down tremendously. It dropped $6 overnight in expected value from Saturday to Sunday, and that just once again speaks to the amount of singles on the market. Right now, expected value is just under $100. I think it's at like $98 or $99, and that's once again assuming the 1 in 96 enchanted pull rate, and then 35 cents or higher, only counting those cards. I know if if you count every card, then your expected value might still be up around like 110, 115. A lot of people don't sell bulk, and so we don't try to attribute that whenever the person that's running the model that provides it to me is doing so. But it is starting to fall out. So I think it's interesting to look at some of the top end cards first, then we'll look at some of the playables like we have been. Baymax sitting at 170. Honestly, Baymax is holding strong. We saw a huge run up, but there's not a lot of volume, right? One sale today, couple on the 13th. I remain confident that we should wait here. You do have one seller for under 170, and then it goes up from there. But lowest verified is 180, right? So still a very strong card. I still think it's going to be very collectible. I just don't know how much demand for it there is at this price, and that's why I think there's better times ahead. You Came Back is starting to see an increase in listings as well. If you guys remember, this has been one that's been in kind of the single-digit range for some time, and we're up at 10 listings now, right? The price is starting to come down. It was selling for around 130, and I do expect these to pick back up, and really I expect all sets to pick back up as we get back into DLC season. Right now, the people who are buying cards are the most, hardcore, deeply entrenched people in the hobby. I think as we get into Worlds and as we get into, I guess, NA Continentals, Worlds, and then the next DLC season is where we're going to start to see spikes in sets again. Because right now, expected value is down across the board. And I think that's just due to a lull in events for most players, right? Obviously, Continentals and Worlds is a very limited player pool. And so a lot of people don't need the 4 of the, best card in the set anymore for their deck. And so they sold it off, waiting for the new sets to come out and the next hype to come around. And so right now, expected value for boxes is really down across the board. First Chapter is the only box right now that's even over $100 in expected value, and it's sitting at like 170, which is way lower than it has been historically. Looking at some of the playable cards within Azurite Sea, Shark Maui down at 24, which is down quite a bit from its all-time high. Genie down at 16, which obviously is still holding strong. But that 124 listing number is no joke, right? So we should continue to see this trend down. Calhoun down at 525 now. And I think this is the path we're heading down, guys. The supply is finally taken over the demand, and we're going to start to see some decreases here. Let's look at some of the cold foil prices, because these are what I do expect to stay stable, relatively speaking. Come down a little bit, but Genie's sitting stable at 30, Maui at 50. That's pretty much right in line with where they have been. Calhoun down at 13. Oswald and Baymax just not commanding our premium. Simba at 25. Diablo doing very well still. The uncommon sitting at $8.50. And then I want to look at along Arceo the Azurite Sea. $5. Okay. Not bad, but once again, obviously that's where that decrease is coming into play, and once again, we do expect that to continue. And then I did want to touch on this to wrap up today's video. The DLC event, Disney Lorcana Challenge, was announced for Australia and New Zealand, and it sold out in seconds, which I think is very interesting. We have a member in the community in the Discord who owns a LGS over in Australia, and they've talked about how they're like, other than First Chapter, there's just not a lot of demand for stuff. Singles haven't been selling, and he was kind of on the fence if he wanted to carry it anymore. And this has sparked an entire wave of buyers, right? People getting singles, people want to attend the tournament, and it's sold out in seconds. So once again, just as we go through this little period, things like this are indicators, right, of where the future of this game is going to go. In terms of sheer overall demand, you go to a new market like Australia, New Zealand, obviously they've had the game, right? But there hasn't been any organized play. As soon as the organized play event comes, it sells out in seconds, and the singles start to fly on the market. And so I think this is what we're going to expect to see in like Japan, and as they get more deeply entrenched into Asia and China, or Asia and China, in the Asian countries specifically, we're going to continue to see that there. And I think just overall world growth is going to continue to trend in the same direction. I think that getting organized play, just like it did in the United States, is going to cause a huge bump in these markets. And so if you're in Japan or one of these markets who doesn't have organized play yet, or at least have an event announced yet, to my knowledge. You know, it would be a good idea to pick up some playable cards that you're willing to bet on, because there's a good chance that demand is going to come, because they've shown that as they expand into these markets, they do plan on doing organized play, right? And I know that in the Japan announcement, that was discussed. I don't think they have an official date for like a DLC or anything like that. But overall, once again, speaks to the overall demand. I did hear that it sold out in seconds, right? According to this poster, a lot of people were mad because it happened during a work day. You can see what Lopsided Daycon says here. Real smart idea to have it during the workday night. Usually, our Aussies really didn't have a chance. And I have heard the same thing that this person says here. I guess I do know plenty of people from New Zealand that got it in to start and then off the wait list, and that's something. Not for me, though. It clicked over. I refreshed, added a cart, sold out. The wait list moved pretty quickly and got a ticket within 10 minutes. That's the same thing I heard, that someone didn't get a ticket. They joined the wait list, and as soon as they joined, they got an opportunity to buy. So I don't know what's going on there, but at the end of the day, it seemed like a lot of people got tickets. But there's a lot of people that didn't, right? And that's what happens when you only have 1,000-player event. But this is the first event in Australia and New Zealand, and I think it just once again speaks to the, I've talked a lot about on my channel the IP of Disney and what encompasses Lorcana when you talk about everything that's been included right now, and when you think about everything that's coming in terms of the Black Cauldron and Pixar and all these things on the roadmap that are coming in terms of IPs. There's nothing like it in terms of TCGs. Not even Pokemon holds a candle to the IP. And when you think about all of Lorcana, right? Now, that's not to put down Pokemon or anything like that. A lot of people say that Pokemon's the biggest media IP in the world, and it's just not true. Lorcana has infinitely more value in terms of intellectual property. Now, they've got to convert that into people buying cards, and that's a different story. But in terms of just, a game rolls out, Lorcana goes to New Zealand and Australia. They offer a tournament. As soon as they do, 1,000 people sign up within seconds. That speaks to the demand for the game, right? More than anything, it's just cool to see, right? It's cool to share this experience with people around the world, and yeah, I'm just excited more than anything else. I remained very consistent with that, and my ending message here today would be: buy the singles that you've been waiting on. Right now is the best time to buy singles that we've seen in months as we go through this lull of tournaments here in NA. Sealed is still doing very, very well, and that kind of tells us that the singles are going to go off the back of that, at least on the Enchanteds. And so I think that now is a really, really good time to pick up your individual singles from the first chapter. Especially the enchanted variety that you've been waiting for, even some of the first chapter playables that you feel like are going to be staples and aren't going to be getting overtaken by some of the new cards. Now is the time to get busy, so do not wait. But with that being said, guys, that is going to be it for today's video. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be back with another video soon. Goodbye.